can be avoided. Now, I admit the Prime Minister has acted with the maximum bad faith and with all the enthusiasm of a petulant schoolboy, but nonetheless, he has written the letter has been received and accepted. And what that means is that the only way that the scenario that he's planning for can unfold is not only if this House fails to pass the Government's Withdrawal Act, which I hope it will, but also if the European Union then declines to extend beyond October the 31st. So can I ask him, is government policy now based on the assumption that the European Union will refuse to extend the Article 50 deadline beyond the 31st of October? And if it is not, then why does he continue with this wasteful exercise? Because it seems to many of us, actually, I agree with the right honourable member for Rushton. How come this date of the 31st of October has become elevated to the extent it has? I mean, the government has this Halloween fetish now. The only reason that the 31st of October matters, rather than a week later, a month later, or a year later, the only reason is to save face for this Prime Minister. Yeah. And I think it's a rum day indeed when we have a situation where the government of the day is more concerned about the vanity of the Prime Minister than making good legislation and doing what is good for the country. And isn't the truth really that all this talk of Yellowhammer and no-deal preparations, this is a propaganda exercise trying to whip up fear and anxiety to drive people into the welcoming arms of the Prime Minister's deal in relief and thankfulness? It won't work, Chancellor.
Yeah. Thank you very much. One of the many reasons why I had hoped that the honourable gentleman had become Deputy Leader of the SNP was the way in which he delivered his questions without notes, with great fluency and authority. And I think all of us in this House recognise what a great speaker he is. Well, what a pity, however, that a very, very well delivered speech, I'm afraid, got one or two fundamental aspects of the position in which this House finds itself wrong. The honourable gentleman asked, of course, about the money that is being spent. As I pointed out in response to my opposite number, the honourable gentleman for Hamsworth, it is the case that this money will be wisely spent come what may, because it is the case that we need to make sure that businesses across the country, including in Scotland, are prepared for life outside the single market and outside the customs union. And it has been the case that that money which the Scottish Government has asked for has been given to the Scottish Government, and the Scottish Government has spent it. If the Scottish Government and the Scottish National Party believed that it was, there was no point in spending this money, then I imagine they would have returned the cheque to the Chancellor of the Exchequer with "not required here." But that was not the case. So they clearly do feel, as we all feel, that it is important to make preparations. He made two other points. He said, why fetishise the date of the 31st of October? Well, that date is the date in law which has been passed in this House and passed by the European Union as the date by which we must leave following the extension of Article 50. It is not a date that was chosen by my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister. It was certainly not a date that was chosen by me. It was a date that this House accepted in negotiation or following negotiation with the European Union. And that is the law. And it is also the case that in law, any extension has to be granted by all EU 27 member states. And we're sometimes accused in this House of being insular. But it is the case that the President of the Commission, the Taoiseach, and the French President have all made it clear that there is no guarantee that any extension will be issued. I think all those of us who value relationships with our friends and neighbours in Europe should take heed of what they say. No extension is guaranteed, no certainty exists. That is why we must back this deal, and I hope that the Scottish National Party, which has done so much to say why no deal is unwelcome, will, at this late stage, repent and recognise that the interests of our United Kingdom are served by their presence in the lobbies supporting this deal.
There is no such thing as a no-deal exit. If we leave without the withdrawal agreement, there will be all sorts of agreements and arrangements in place. So will the government do more to tell the country about the 2017 facilitation and trade agreement between all WTO members to ensure smooth borders, the government international procurement agreement to allow governments to transact business, and the customs and the haulage and the aviation arrangements and agreements, which are all in place? They should stop scaremongering.
My right honourable friend makes a very, very fair point. If we leave without the withdrawal agreement being ratified, we will leave without that deal. No deal is sometimes used to cover that specific outcome, and it's in that, with respect to that widely accepted description, that I use the word. But my right honourable friend is right. There are other agreements, and there will continue to be agreements that we've concluded both with individual EU member states and with the EU overall, which will govern our relationship. But I'm strongly of the view that a withdrawal agreement which has been ratified in this place will be the best possible way in which we can ensure both that we recognise the Brexit referendum vote and that we continue to have free trade and friendly cooperation.
Hilary Benn.
Thank you very much indeed. Madam Deputy Speaker, one of the main concerns that's been expressed about the consequences of leaving without an agreement is the potential for delay for lorries moving across the Channel, an issue on which the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster has given evidence to the Brexit Select Committee. Could he tell the House what is the government's latest assessment of the percentage of lorries leaving the United Kingdom that would have the correct paperwork on the 1st of November if this eventuality, which we none of us want to see happen, comes to pass, and therefore what kind of delay might we be looking at in those circumstances?
There is a... thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. I will be sharing with the House the revised planning assumptions in Yellowhammer very shortly. It is the case that the level of business readiness has increased. It is the case that we expect that a significantly increased number of vehicles will be ready, and that has an effect, obviously, on flow at the border. But we're being deliberately cautious, and we are copper fastening those assumptions, and I hope to share them with the House very, very shortly.
Paterson.
Following my right friend from Wokin's comments, I entirely agree. There is no such thing as no deal. There is not leaving with a formal withdrawal agreement and a whole lot of side deals. Could he make a point of publicising these to educate the opposition? And also, would he inform the House now of what further meetings he had or has planned with the French authorities, because they have been very, very bullish that Calais-Boulogne will flow, and they have made necessary preparations. And contrary to the last question, they don't do paperwork. All this is done electronically.
Right. Exactly.
My right honourable friend makes a number of very good points. The first is that in the no-deal preparation document, which was shared with the House on the 8th of October, some 150 pages, we ran through many of the arrangements that have been put in place, some agreed, some the unilateral decision of the EU, in order to make sure that if we leave without an agreement, that we can mitigate the risks in all our interests. It was interesting on that occasion that the Right Honourable Member for Holborn and St Pancras didn't ask any questions about that document. He asked about other process questions as well, but I'm always available to answer questions about those provisions. My right honourable friend is also right that significant investment has been made by the French government in order to ensure that, exactly as he says, that electronic information can be exchanged before trucks arrive in Calais in order to allow them to move smoothly through the green lane, and if they are carrying fish or shellfish, to move smoothly to the border inspection post at Boulogne-sur-Mer.
Tracy Braven.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. On a recent trip to a pharmacy in Birstall, we had a conversation about their anxiety about generic drugs becoming more expensive because of delays and tariffs, and also because pharmaceutical companies might not want to launch their drugs in the UK because now they're more expensive. And in a recent survey, with 81% of pharmacists saying that they're worried that these drugs are going to be more delayed because of a no-deal Brexit. A couple of weeks ago, I asked directly the Minister if he believed anyone would die because of a no-deal Brexit. He was unequivocal then, and he was very robust in his answer, and he said unequivocally, no. Is that still the case?
Well, first of all, can I thank the Honourable Lady for her question, because it gives me an opportunity to echo her in saying how much we value the work of local pharmacists and how critical they are to the effective operation of our NHS and providing all our constituents with the treatments that they need in an effective and timely way. Talking of effective and timely delivery of medicine, it is the case that the freight transport that my right honourable friend has secured is enough for more than 120% of our Category 1 priority medical goods needs. It is also the case that the steps that we have taken to ensure business readiness and to improve flow over the short straits should ensure that there will not be the shortages or the delays which the Honourable Lady is concerned about.
Crispin Blunt.
Does my right honourable friend agree that uncertainty has a price and a growing price both in the United Kingdom but importantly in the European Union? And it is absolutely in their interests to bring this uncertainty to a close by declining our formal request for an extension and forcing this House to a decision. And it was true on the 29th of March, as it is for the 31st of October, that the only way this House is going to vote for a deal negotiated by the government in the circumstances of the membership of this House as it's constructed today would be a straight choice between deal or no deal. And then the rhetoric that's been on the other side about the unacceptability of no deal will be called out. We will get the deal, we will have the certainty of a transition period and a proper place to negotiate our future relationship and 14 months to do it in. But if they delay, then we are pitched into further uncertainty and further cost.
Ms Gove.
My right honourable friend is 100% spot on, and I am completely in agreement with him.
Miss Leslie.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I just want to be clear, further to the question from the Right Honourable Member for Leeds Central, that today it's been revealed by the Brexit Secretary that Article 271 of the deal would now institute these exit summary declarations for goods being sent from Northern Ireland into Great Britain. So, just to be absolutely clear, this is goods being transferred within the United Kingdom. Can he confirm that those plans are now being put in place, potentially for the 1st of November? Is he content with those declarations being put in place, or is there a chance that they won't happen? What would be the cost that he's estimated of those declarations being administered, and how many does he anticipate there would be?
Well said.
If we leave without a deal, and that would be the situation
Créer un cadre européen fort en concluant les trilogues sur le retrait des contenus terroristes en ligne. La législation actuelle, constituée par la directive Services des médias audiovisuels et le code de conduite signé en 2016 par les grands acteurs du net, n'est pas suffisante. Il faut accélérer le retrait des contenus et toucher toutes les plateformes et les forums en ligne. Ainsi, Internet ne servira pas plus à banaliser les causes extrémistes. Il faut faire aussi le constat de l'ignorance de notre histoire. Un jeune Européen sur 10 ne connaît pas l'Holocauste. Combattons donc le mal à la racine, dans les écoles, les lycées, les universités. Ainsi, nous rendrons les usagers d'Internet plus libres et donc plus responsables. Merci.
Vielen Dank, Frau Kollegin. Es folgt in der Aussprache Herr